The storm on the planet Karth. 9 had raged for 3 days. Red dust spun across the endless desert, hiding the ruins buried beneath it. Lightning flashed in the orange sky, lighting up the broken towers of an ancient city long forgotten. No one had lived here for 10,000 years, or so the records say. ID. Captain Mira Holt stood at the edge of a deep crater, her helmet visor glowing faintly blue in the storm light. HT. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed quiet excitement. Record this, she said into her calm artifact sight. Day 3. No signs of life. But the scanners say something powerful is down there. Mira was H. Human, a soldier once, now an expo. Auror, she had worked for the Galactic Archaeology Corps for 5 years. Most of her team were aliens from different worlds, strong, proud, and older than humanity's entire space age. History. To them, humans were still new to the stars. Curious, reckless, too emotional. But Mira didn't care what the thought. She had come to find something that would prove that curiosity was not weakness. Behind her, the crew struggled through. The storm. There was Tovin, a tall blue-scale Valari warrior, strong as iron but always impatient. And next to him, Lyra, the quiet tech specialist, small and silver-skinned, with eyes that could see heat and energy patterns. Both of them had been skeptical about this mission. The locals said the ruins were cursed. An ancient weapon slept there, waiting for the worthy to claim it. Mira didn't believe in curses. She believed in evidence, in data, and in the strange pull that explorers felt when they stood on the edge of something new. Captain, Lyra called out through the wind. The readings are strong now. Energy levels rising below ground. It's strange, not mechanical, not biological, something else. Mira smiled under her helmet. Then we dig. It took them hours to reach the temple door. The structure was carved from dark stone that shimmered faintly like glass. Symbols covered every inch of it. Circles, lines, and a spiral shape that repeated again and again. The spiral reminded Mira of a galaxy seen from above. She touched the surface, and the stone felt warm like it was alive. Tovin growled, "We should not be here. This place feels wrong." "Everything important feels wrong before it feels right," Mira said softly. Lyra pointed at a small indentation in the center of the door. "It needs a touch," she said, "but be careful." Mira didn't hesitate. Her gloved hand pressed into the mark, and instantly the storm outside stopped. The wind died. The lightning froze in the clouds. The air became perfectly still. Then the door opened. A beam of golden light shot upward into the sky, cutting through the dust clouds. Inside, the air shimmered with floating motes of blue energy. The chamber was vast and round, with pillars reaching high into the shadows. And at the center of the room, floating above a stone pedestal, was the artifact. It was a metallic sphere, smooth but etched with the same spiral markings. It rotated slowly, humming with quiet power. A faint voice, almost like a whisper, echoed across the walls, soft at first, then growing stronger. "Only the worthy shall wield it." The voice was not human. It was deep, ancient, layered with tones that seemed to come from inside the listeners' minds. Everyone froze. Tovin lifted his plasma spear, ready to fight. "What did it say?" he demanded. "It spoke in standard," Mira said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It said, 'Only the worthy shall wield it.'" Lyra's eyes glowed faintly as she scanned the air. Energy levels off the chart. "It's scanning us." The artifact pulsed with light, blue, then red, then gold. A thin beam shot toward Tovin. He stepped forward proudly, raising his weapon. "Test me," then he shouted, "I am a Valari warrior. I have fought on 10 worlds. The light hit him square in the chest. There was a burst of energy, and Tovin was thrown backward like a doll. He hit the wall hard, smoke rising from his armor. He was alive but stunned. The artifact glowed red for a moment and spoke again. Unworthy. Silence filled the room. Lyra stepped back, shaking her head. It's choosing. It's testing us one by one. Mira watched the sphere, her heart beating fast but steady. Her curiosity burned brighter than her fear. It wasn't a weapon, it was a judge, a test, and she wanted to know what it was testing for. She walked slowly toward it. Her boots echoed on the ancient floor. The others shouted for her to stop, but she didn't. The artifact turned toward her. The golden light became softer. Human detected. It said, "Evaluation in progress." The air grew thick. The light surrounded her like a cocoon, scanning every cell, every thought, every memory. Images flickered in her mind. Wars, laughter, love, loss, children, stars. It was reading her life, and for a moment she felt small under its gaze. Then the voice spoke again. Potential yet untested. The light faded. The artifact hovered quietly, as if waiting for something. Mira took a deep breath. Her voice was steady when she said, "Then let's see what you call worthy." Outside, the storm began again, but inside, something far greater had awakened. The artifact floated silently in the center of the chamber, glowing with slow pulses of golden light. Captain Mira Holt stood before it, her heart still racing. Behind her, the others whispered nervously. Why? No one dared move closer. Tovin groaned as he tried to stand, smoke still rising from his armor. His scales were scorched where the artifact's energy had hit him. He spat on the floor. His pride hurt more than his body. "That thing is dangerous," he growled. "It does not want to be too. Ched." Mira turned her head slightly. "No, Tovin. It's not angry. It's testing." Lyra looked at the artifact with wide silver eyes. "Testing what?" Mira shook her head. "That's what I'm going to find out." She took a cautious step forward. The artifact responded instantly. Its glow brightened, and the voice spoke again, deep and echoing through tea. "Here, human, step forward. Worthiness evaluation. Pending." Lyra whispered, "Captain, maybe you show." El Dient. But Mira didn't stop. She had come too far to turn B. Act now. Every explorer knew there was a moment when fear and discovery met face to face. This was that moment. The floor under her feet shimmered. A circle of light spread outward from where she stood. The symbols on the walls began to spin slowly, like the gears of a giant clock. She could feel something invisible brushing against her mind, reading her thoughts, testing her heart. "Define strength," the voice said. Mira blinked. "Strength. Yes, strength. Define." She hesitated. Then she spoke softly, carefully. "Strength is not about power. It's about endurance. About doing what's right, even when it hurts." The artifact was silent for a moment. Then the air vibrated again. "Incorrect. T, redefine." Mira frowned. "Incorrect? According to who?" No answer came. Only the humming of energy filled the room. Lyra's instruments beeped wildly. "Captain, the energy's spiking again." A beam of white light shot from the artifact, forming an image in the air, a hologram of a battlefield. Humans and aliens fighting side by side. Explosions. Fire. Fear. Mira recognized it instantly. It was from her own memory, the war on Vorn P. Rhyme years ago. She watched her younger self helping a wounded soldier, carrying him through the flames. Then the light changed. The soldier she had saved was shown fighting again, saving others. The artifact spoke once more. You risked your life to save one. Was that strength? Myra's voice was quiet. Yes. Why? Because I could. Because someone had to. The artifact pulsed with light again, faster now, as if thinking. Observation. Self-sacrifice. Partial worthiness detected. Tovin groaned. Partial? What does that even mean? Mira ignored him. Her eyes stayed locked on the artifact. It wasn't just showing her memories. It was feeling them. It was learning what it meant to be human. Then, without warning, the floor opened. A path of glowing tiles stretched out before her, leading deeper into the temple. The others gasped. The voice spoke again. Proceed, human. The trial of worth begins. Lyra stepped forward nervously. Captain, are you sure about this? Mira nodded. Stay here. If I don't come back in 10 minutes, get off this planet. She smiled, though her heart pounded like a drum. Don't worry. I've been through worse tests. She walked along the glowing path, each step echoing softly. The chamber behind her faded into darkness as new lights appeared ahead. She entered a long hallway filled with floating shards of light, like stars frozen in the air. As she moved, the shards rearranged themselves, forming images again, memories not of her, but of others. She saw alien warriors kneeling before the artifact. Centuries ago, each one tried to touch it. Each one was struck down. The voice of the artifact filled the hall once more. They sought power. They desired conquest. All failed. Mira stopped walking. And what do you want? The voice hesitated, almost unsure. Worthy bearer. One who understands purpose. Purpose, she repeated. Whose purpose, yours or theirs? Purpose beyond self. Beyond survival. Mira thought for a long moment. Then she said, You want someone who protects, not someone who conquers. The shards of light flared brightly. Interpretation accepted. The next doorway opened with a deep rumble. Inside was a small circular room. In the center stood a pillar, and on that pillar was a smaller version of the artifact, a crystal orb glowing with inner light. Touch the core, said the voice. Mira stepped closer. Her reflection shimmered in the crystal surface. She could see her tired eyes, the faint scar on her cheek, the face of someone who had seen too much war, but still kept hope alive. She reached out and then stopped. Her hand hovered inches from the orb. What happens if I'm not worthy? She asked. Then you will know the truth. She smiled faintly. Fair enough. Her fingers touched the crystal. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then light exploded. The room vanished. She was standing in a white void filled with echoes of laughter, sorrow, and distant voices. Faces appeared. Humans, aliens, children, soldiers, all flashing through her mind like a storm. The artifact's voice surrounded her completely. The test is not of strength. It is of heart. Mira whispered, Then I'm ready. The light pulsed once more, then faded. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the chamber. The artifact hovered in front of her again, quiet but glowing brighter than before. Potential confirmed, it said. Next stage awaits. Mira took a deep breath, looking at her team. What's next? She asked. The artifact answered, voice calm and cold. The choice. And then the floor began to move. The floor shifted beneath Captain Mira Holt's boots, moving like a slow tide of stone. Her breath echoed in the vast chamber as walls of light formed around her, a perfect circle. Her team shouted from somewhere beyond the glow, but their voices were distant, fading like whispers underwater. She was alone now, only her and the artifact. It floated at eye level, golden light rippling across its surface. The air vibrated softly with a strange rhythm, like the heartbeat of something alive. Human, the artifact said, its voice deep and calm. The second test begins. Mira steadied herself. I'm listening. You seek worthiness, it continued. Show understanding. What does it mean to protect? She frowned. Protect? That's simple. It means keeping others safe. At any cost? She hesitated. Sometimes. Even if they're your enemy? The question hung heavy in the air. Mira remembered faces, soldiers she fought against, people who once tried to kill her. Some she had saved anyway. Some she couldn't. Her chest tightened. Even then, she said quietly, if I can help them, I do. The artifact glowed brighter, almost studying her. Contradiction detected. Protection without loyalty. Explain. She crossed her arms. You think loyalty is the only kind of strength? Maybe you've never seen mercy. There was silence, long, deep silence, as if the artifact was thinking for the first time. Then the chamber around her changed. The light dissolved, replaced by a holographic battlefield. The ground was scorched, filled with smoke and the cries of the wounded. It looked so real. She could smell the burning metal. Mira spun around. Soldiers ran past her, alien warriors, their armor shattered. A human lay nearby, bleeding. Beside him stood a frightened alien child, tears in its eyes. Both were trapped under falling debris. The artifact's voice echoed from above. 2 lives, 1 choice. Save the soldier or save the child. You have 10 seconds. Myra's heart pounded. Wait, what kind of test is this? Choose. She didn't think. Her body moved before her mind did. She rushed toward the child. The ground shook as metal beams collapsed behind her. The human soldier screamed her name, reaching out. She hesitated only for a heartbeat, then pushed the child out of harm's way as the structure came down. The vision froze. Everything turned to light again. You chose the weaker one. The artifact said, explain. Mira was breathing hard. Sweat trickled down her neck. Because the child couldn't save themselves. The soldier had greater value. Knowledge, strength, experience. Then you don't understand life, she snapped. Strength means nothing if you lose your humanity. For a long moment, the artifact was silent again. Then it spoke, softer now. Human, your reasoning is illogical. She took a deep breath and smiled faintly. Yeah, that's what they all say. The chamber brightened. The hologram vanished completely. Mira was standing again in the temple's center, the artifact floating inches away from her face. Observation, compassion without gain, decision based on empathy, analysis incomplete. She tilted her head. Incomplete? You still can't decide if I'm worthy, can you? Unclear parameters. Worthiness exceeds defined logic. Mira smirked. Maybe you should stop looking for logic and start looking for meaning. The light flickered again. The artifact seemed confused, almost curious. Meaning? Yeah, she said, walking around it slowly. You've tested strength, obedience, logic. But those aren't what makes someone worthy. Meaning does. Why we fight, why we care, why we help even when it costs us. The artifact hum deepened, like a distant drumbeat. Purpose beyond self, it repeated softly. Possibility detected. Suddenly, the walls of light fell away. Her team came rushing toward her, Tovin with his heavy steps, and Lyra with her glowing scanner. Both looked frightened. Captain, Lyra said, we lost you for almost 15 minutes. The readings went crazy. I'm fine, Mira said, brushing the dust from her armor. Just had a conversation. Tovin crossed his arms. With that thing, it's a machine, not a priest. The artifact turned toward him as if hearing the insult. Worthy candidates remain. Shall the next be tested? Tovin smirked and stepped forward. Gladly. Wait, Mira warned, but it was too late. The warrior raised the spear proudly. I will show you true strength. The artifact's glow intensified. Begin test. A flash of light. Tovin roared and swung his weapon, but it shattered like glass. A force lifted him into the air, slamming him to the ground. He gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. Violence detected. Motivation, pride. Verdict, unworthy. The room fell silent. Only the hum of the artifact remained. Mira knelt beside the fallen warrior. You okay? He nodded weakly, embarrassed. It rejected me. She looked up at the artifact. You keep calling people unworthy, but you still don't know what that word means, do you? The artifact floated closer. Its voice was almost a whisper now. Then, teach me. Mira blinked, surprised. Teach you. Understanding incomplete. Human displays qualities unseen before. Compassion, mercy, contradiction. I must learn. She stood slowly, watching the light shift from gold to soft blue. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was standing before a weapon, but a child trying to understand right from wrong. All right, she said quietly. Then we learn together. The artifact pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Next trial will reveal truth. Mira nodded, her voice calm but firm. Then let's see it. And as the chamber began to glow again, she didn't know that the next test would not measure her strength, but her soul. The temple was quiet now. The golden light of the artifact had faded to a soft blue, glowing like a sleeping star. Dust floated in the air, and the hum that once filled the chamber was gone. Captain Mira Holt stood in the center, breathing slowly, her heart still steady from the last test. Her team gathered around her again. Tovin looked angry and humiliated. Lyra's hands shook as she held her scanner. No one spoke for a long time. Even the wind outside seemed to hold its breath. Finally, Lyra whispered, Captain, what did it mean? What truth does it want to see? Mira looked at the artifact, which hovered silently a few meters away. Its surface flickered as if thinking. I don't know, she said softly. But I think it's watching us, not just me. The ground trembled beneath them. Somewhere deeper in the ruins, a low rumble echoed, like ancient gears turning after ages of silence. A section of the temple wall slid open, revealing a new passageway lit with blue light. The artifact rose slowly, spinning. Final stage begins, it said. All witnesses may enter. Lyra swallowed. That includes us? Yes, the voice replied. All who remain will be judged. Tovin groaned but followed. Fine, let's finish this. They stepped into the corridor. It was long and narrow, carved with alien runes that glowed faintly as they passed. At the end stood a round chamber, smaller than the others, with a single pedestal in the center. On it lay a small object wrapped in cloth. Mira approached carefully. The artifact followed, hovering above her shoulder like a silent guardian. When she touched the cloth, the air shimmered. The object beneath began to hum. She unwrapped it and gasped. It was another artifact, smaller, shaped like a sword hilt, but smooth and elegant, as if waiting for a blade of light. The handle glowed faintly with the same spiral pattern as the larger sphere. Prototype of creation, the voice said, the weapon of the worthy. Tovin's eyes widened. A weapon? That's what this was all about? A test to find a warrior? Affirmative, the artifact replied. To find one who may wield the gift of balance. Mira frowned. Balance. The worthy shall protect without hatred, shall fight without pride. She stared at the hilt, her reflection shining faintly on its surface. So this weapon, it chooses its master? Yes. Only the worthy may awaken it. Before she could respond, Footsteps echoed from behind. A small shape stepped out from the shadows. A child. An alien child, no more than 4 years old, with wide gray eyes and trembling hands. He wore a torn mining suit and clutched a small toy sphere close to his chest. Lyra gasped, "How?" "He must have followed us from the camp." The boy looked terrified. He had been hiding all along. Mira knelt down gently. "Hey there," she said softly. "It's okay. You're safe now." The artifact floated closer, its glow darkening. Unidentified life form detected. Non-combatant. Removed from testing chamber. "Wait," Mira said. "He's just a kid. Irrelevant. This place is sacred. Only contenders remain." Tovin took a step forward. "Let me handle this. We'll take the child back outside." But before he could reach him, the boy stumbled backward and brushed against a smaller artifact on the pedestal. Light flared across the room. Everyone froze. The hilt floated into the air, spinning gently, glowing brighter than ever before. The child watched it with innocent wonder, not fear. The voice of the artifact roared through the chamber, shaking the ground. "Alert! Unauthorized contact. Immediate termination sequence." "Stop!" Mira shouted. She ran forward, shielding the child with her body. The beam of energy halted inches from her back. She turned toward the hovering sphere. "You call yourself a test of worth, right? Then answer this. What's more worthy than protecting someone who can't protect themselves?" The artifact paused. Its light flickered rapidly, confused, uncertain. Protocol conflict detected. Non-combatant touched relic without authorization. Myra's voice grew firm. "He didn't touch it to claim power. He touched it because he's curious, because he's alive, because that's what we do. We reach out. That's what makes us worthy." The chamber pulsed with light, brighter and brighter, as if the artifact was struggling to understand. The child peeked from behind her shoulder and smiled at the floating sphere. To everyone's shock, the artifact hum softened. It almost sounded calm. The smaller hilt drifted down toward the boy. He reached out carefully, his tiny fingers wrapping around it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the weapon transformed. A stream of golden light formed, spiraling upward, turning into a crystal rod, glowing gently like a candle flame. Not a weapon of war, but a symbol of light and peace. Innocence, courage, selfless intent detected. The voice said slowly, "Worthy bearer identified." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. It had accepted him. Tovin stepped back in disbelief. A child? The weapon chose a child. Mira smiled softly. It didn't choose strength. It chose purity. The artifact glowed once more, its voice quieter now. Lesson acknowledged. Worthiness transcends power. Humanity demonstrates unexpected variables: compassion, mercy, love. The golden light spread through the room, painting everything in warmth. The boy laughed, holding the glowing rod, his laughter echoing through the ancient temple like music. The storm outside calmed. The ruins stopped shaking. Mira looked at the artifact one last time. "Looks like your creators forgot something important." "Correction," it replied. "We did not forget. We hope to be reminded." For the first time, the artifact sounded almost human. Mira took the boy's hand and led him toward the exit. "Come on, kid. Let's go home." Behind them, the artifact whispered into the quiet air. "The worthy shall not conquer. They shall guide." And then the light faded. The storm outside the ruins had faded into silence. The sky above Karth, 9 glowed a deep violet, scattered with silver lightning far on the horizon. Captain Mira Holt led the small alien child to the broken temple gates, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. The artifact floated behind them, its golden light now softer, no longer blinding, almost peaceful. For a long moment, no one spoke. The air was calm, heavy with the feeling that something ancient had ended or maybe begun again. Tovin broke the silence first. "This is madness," he muttered, rubbing his bruised chest. "The relics of the ancients, meant for warriors, now bow to a child? What lesson is this?" Lyra shot him a look. "Maybe that's the point, Tovin. Maybe they were never meant for warriors at all." Mira stopped walking and turned back toward the artifact. Its light pulsed slowly, like the rhythm of a steady heart. "All right," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You've seen what we are. You've tested strength, courage, mercy. Now it's your turn. Tell us what you are." The artifact hovered still for a moment. Then its voice filled the air, no longer cold or mechanical, but almost human in tone. "We were called the Seraphim. Long before your stars were born, we walked among the galaxies. We built and we destroyed. We sought to create perfection and failed." The air shimmered. Images appeared, vast cities alight, alien figures with silver skin and golden eyes, their hands shaping entire worlds. They looked beautiful, but lonely. Mira and her team stood in awe as the memories unfolded like a living dream. "We built the artifacts," the voice continued. "They were meant to choose the worthy, leaders who would guide, not conquer. But in our arrogance, we forgot what worthiness meant. We made the test too hard, too cruel. None passed." Lyra's eyes widened. "So that's why they vanished. They destroyed themselves?" "No," the artifact said softly. "We became them." "What do you mean?" Mira asked. "Our minds, our essence. We poured ourselves into the artifacts, hoping time would teach us what pride had made us forget." Tovin frowned. "You turned yourselves into machines?" "Not machines. Memories. We waited, watching every species that came after us. Many tried to take our power. Many failed. Until now." The golden light dimmed, focusing on Mira and the child beside her. "Humanity," the artifact said, "was different. You fight, yes, but not only for victory. You fight for meaning, for each other." Mira stared at the glowing sphere, her expression softening. "You waited all this time just to understand kindness?" "Kindness is not simple," it replied. "It is strength without reward, power without cruelty. It is the answer we could never find." The artifact floated lower, its light surrounding the child who still held the crystal rod. The glow from the weapon pulsed in sync with the artifact's rhythm, as if they were speaking silently to each other. Lyra's voice trembled. "Is he as a child in danger?" "No," said the artifact. "He is our bridge. Through him, we remember what we lost." The child looked up at Mira and smiled. "It's warm," he said softly. "It feels like home." Mira knelt beside him. "That's because it's not a weapon," she said. "It's hope." The artifact hummed. "Designation accepted. The weapon of worth shall now be known as the beacon of heart." A beam of light shot upward from the temple ruins, piercing the clouds and reaching into space. It was not harsh or destructive. It was gentle, spreading across the sky like dawn breaking on a dead world. Lyra's scanner beeped wildly. Energy surge. It's sending a signal across half the sector. Tovin stepped forward, squinting. "To who?" "To those who remain," the artifact said. "Others like me, sleeping artifacts scattered across the galaxy. They will awaken and they will learn." Mira stood tall, wind tugging at her suit. "So you're waking them all up because a child proved you wrong?" "Because humanity proved us right," the voice replied. "You showed us that worthiness was never about conquest. It was about care." For a long while, no one said anything. They simply watched as the beam of golden light spread through the clouds, painting the sky with warmth and quiet power. Finally, Mira turned to the artifact again. What happens now? Now we rest. Our purpose is fulfilled. The lesson is learned. The artifact floated closer to her. Its voice softened, like a whisper from an old friend. Remember this, human. Worth is not granted by strength. It is revealed by choice. The light around it began to fade. Its glow dimmed until it became a small, shining orb, silent, gentle, and warm. It drifted toward Mira, who caught it in her hand. The metal felt alive, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. She looked down at the child, who held the beacon tightly in his small hands. He looked up at her. What do we do now, Captain? Mira smiled. We go home. Tovin grunted. And what then? Tell the galaxy a child holds the secret of the ancients. Mira looked toward the sky, where the light was fading. Maybe, she said softly. Or maybe we just let the story spread, one person at a time. That's how truth survives. The artifact's last words echoed faintly in the wind. Guide them well, humanity, for the worthy shall not rule, they shall remind. The storm clouds parted. Sunlight touched the ruins for the first time in 1,000 years. Mira turned, walking into the dawn with her team and the child, carrying the light of the past and the promise of something greater than power. The artifact slept once more. The journey back from Karth, 9 took 6 standard days. The transport ship Odyssey dawn cut through the quiet void, its engines humming like a heartbeat in the dark. Inside, Captain Mira Holt sat by the observation window, watching the streaks of light bend past. The small alien child slept on the seat beside her, the beacon of heart glowing softly in his hands. Every time she looked at it, she felt warmth, not heat, but something deeper, like calm inside the chaos. The message had already spread. The artifact's beam had carried across half the sector before fading, and the galaxy had noticed. The first transmission came before they even reached orbit. This is Commander Vexer of the Valari Dominion. You will surrender the relic immediately. Its power belongs to our people. Mira sighed. Of course it does, she muttered. Tovin stood behind her. His blue scales darkened with tension. Vexer is my commander, he said quietly. He won't ask twice. I'm counting on that, Mira replied. When they reached the docking bay of the Valari flagship, the scene was tense. Armored guards lined the corridors, their plasma rifles glowing like miniature suns. At the end of the hall stood Commander Vexer, tall, proud, with armor that shimmered like liquid steel. His expression was unreadable. He stepped forward as Mira approached, the artifact floating silently behind her. So, Vexer said, his voice deep and calm, the human returns were myth made real. It's no myth, Mira replied. It's a lesson. Vexer's eyes narrowed. A lesson? You brought an ancient weapon into my fleet and call it a lesson? She crossed her arms. It's not a weapon anymore. It changed. You'd know that if you stopped looking for something to conquer. The tension thickened. Guards raised their rifles slightly. The child peeked out from behind Myra's leg, clutching the glowing beacon. The light pulsed softly, golden gentle. Vexer's gaze fixed on the child. That thing belongs to the Dominion, he growled. It belongs to no one, Mira said quietly. It chose. Vexer scoffed. Chose? A machine cannot choose. It follows logic protocol code. Maybe once, she said. Not anymore. The artifact hovered forward on its own, stopping between them. Its voice filled the chamber, calm but commanding. Commander Vexer. Inquiry. What defines worthiness in your view? Vexer straightened. Strength. Victory. Control. The power to shape destiny. The artifact's light dimmed. Incorrect. Vexer frowned. What did you say? Incorrect, it repeated. Strength without compassion leads to ruin. History confirms this. The commander clenches fists. You dare judge me, machine? I do not judge. I remember. The walls flickered. Images appeared in the air. Flashes of ancient Valari wars. Planets burning. Leaders blinded by pride. The soldiers gasped. Even Vexer stepped back, his face pale beneath the silver light. This is a legacy of those who call themselves conquerors, the artifact said. The Seraphim made the same mistake. Do you wish to follow them into extinction? Silence filled the hall. Mira watched the commander carefully. You asked who owns it, Vexer. The truth is, none of us do. It owns itself, and it remembers what we've all forgotten. Vexer's breathing slowed. His pride fought with reason. He looked at the child again, so small, so fragile, holding the light of the ancients without fear. Why him? He asked quietly. Why not you or me or any warrior? The artifact's glow brightened. Because the worthy do not seek power. They hold it gently so it does not break. The commander lowered his head. For a moment, the great warrior looked almost human, tired, uncertain. Vexer stepped forward slowly, then knelt before the child. To everyone's shock, he placed his hand over his heart. I see now, he said softly. The galaxy will not be ruled by warriors. It will be guided by those with heart. The soldiers around them hesitated, then did the same, kneeling one by one, their weapons lowered. The child stared, confused but smiling. Mira whispered, You see? Even the proud can learn. The artifact pulsed again, its voice warm, understanding achieved. The lesson spreads. Hours later, the ship drifted in orbit over Karth 9. News of the event traveled across every network in the sector. Some called it a miracle, others called it heresy. But no one could deny that something had changed. Mira stood once more at the observation window, watching the stars shimmer like tiny fires in the dark. Tovin joined her silently. You've changed them, he said quietly. You changed all of us. She smiled faintly. I didn't. The kid did. He nodded toward the child, asleep again with the beacon beside him. He won't remember all this. Maybe not, Mira said, but the galaxy will. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the planet spin below. Then the artifact floated near the window, its glow reflecting in the glass. Humanity has reminded the stars of their purpose, it said. But this is only the beginning. Mira turned. What do you mean? There are more of us, more artifacts. Some awake, some lost. They must learn as I did. She smiled. Then I guess we got work to do. The artifact's light shimmered brighter, casting long rays through the cabin. Then let us begin. Outside, a new dawn rose over Karth 9, golden light spilling across the world like hope reborn. And as ships across the galaxy turned their sensors toward that glow, one truth became clear. Humanity had not conquered the stars. They had taught them. The stars had never looked so close. Captain Mira Holt stood on the bridge of the Odyssey Dawn, staring into the deep, endless dark of space. But it didn't feel empty anymore. Not after what had happened on Karth 9. Not after the light. In every direction, transmissions filled the void, voices of wonder, disbelief, and hope. Reports confirm a human expedition uncovered a living artifact. The Valari Dominion kneels before a child. Ancient technology awakens across the sectors. They say the stars remember again. The galaxy was changing. For the first time in centuries, the word worthy meant something new. In the med bay, the small alien child sat on a table, swinging his legs while holding the beacon of heart. Its glow pulsed gently with each of his heartbeats. He hummed softly, a tune without words but full of peace. Lyra stood nearby, watching him with quiet awe. Her silver eyes reflected the light. "He's different now," she whispered. Mira nodded. "He carries something old, but pure. The artifact said he's a bridge." "Between what?" Lyra asked. "Between what we were," Mira said, "and what we can be." Across the galaxy, the ripple had already begun. On the world of Orvin, for a slumbering relic woke from beneath the mountains, glowing with soft blue light. On the drifting cities of the Varus Belt, old machines long thought dead began to hum again. Everywhere, artifacts once feared now whispered the same phrase. "The worthy shall not conquer. They shall guide." Some leaders feared it. Others bowed before it. But all listened. The Odyssey Dawn soon arrived at a neutral station orbiting the twin suns of Helios Prime. Representatives from a dozen species had gathered there, warriors, scholars, diplomats, and skeptics alike. They wanted to see the human, the artifact, and the child who held it. The council chamber was massive, its walls alive with holographic stars. As Mira entered with the boy beside her, every voice fell silent. Even those who had mocked humanity before now watched with uneasy respect. At the center stood an empty dais, marked with the symbol of unity, a circle broken by light. The boy looked up at her nervously. She smiled and knelt beside him. "You don't have to say anything," she whispered. "Just hold the beacon. That's enough." He nodded. The room darkened. The artifact floated upward, glowing softly. "You are gathered," it said, "because you seek control, but you will leave with understanding." The golden light spread across the walls, showing scenes from history, wars, treaties, betrayals. Images of countless species fighting for power, burning worlds, breaking promises. And then, finally, the memory of Karth 9, a human shielding a child. "This is worthiness," said the artifact. "Not victory, not fear, but the courage to care." The council murmured among themselves. A reptilian senator hissed, "Are we to learn from children now?" Mira turned toward him. "Maybe that's exactly who we should be learning from. Children don't see power. They see people." Her words hung in the air. Even the guard seemed to pause. Vexer, now without a commander's armor, stepped forward. He bowed deeply before the beacon and said, "If this light can humble warriors, perhaps it can heal the rest of us too." The boy smiled shyly and lifted the glowing crystal higher. The light grew stronger, spreading warmth through the entire chamber. It touched every face, every wall, every heart. And in that moment, for the first time in recorded memory, silence fell holy. Hours later, the council had dissolved. No treaties were signed. No armies formed. But something far greater had happened. An understanding. Mira stood alone on the balcony, overlooking the twin suns. The artifact floated beside her, its voice gentle. "It begins again. The cycle resets, but not as before." "What do you mean?" she asked. "We existed to judge. Now we exist to learn." She smiled softly. "And humanity?" Humanity reminded the stars that worthiness has no species, only choice. The artifact paused, then added, "You have changed the direction of countless worlds." Mira laughed quietly. "I just handed a toy to a kid." "Exactly," said the artifact. "Simplicity reveals truth." Back aboard the Odyssey Dawn, the crew prepared for departure. The child waved from the viewport, the beacon's glow lighting his face. Behind him, dozens of smaller lights began to appear across the void. Other artifacts awakening, answering the call. Lyra pointed at the sensors. "Captain, there's movement all over the sector. It's spreading." Mira smiled. "Let it." Tovin stepped closer. "Where to now?" She looked out at the endless horizon of stars. "Anywhere that still thinks kindness is weakness," she said. "We've got lessons to deliver." As the ship turned toward the stars, the artifact spoke one final time, its voice like wind through 1,000 worlds. The legacy of the worthy is not written in power, but in peace. The words echoed long after the sound faded. Through the darkness, light trails spread like veins of gold, artifacts waking, worlds stirring, hearts remembering, and somewhere beyond all maps, the Seraphim's final message whispered into quiet. When humanity reached the stars reached back and found themselves changed. Captain Miraholt closed her eyes and smiled. "We're not conquerors," she murmured. "We're caretakers." The ship's engines flared, and the Odyssey dawn vanished into a sea of stars, carrying the light of a child, the lesson of the civilization, and the promise that humanity, once again, had made the universe remember what it meant to be worthy.